This is Land of Havilah, 2 Kings chapter 3. We remember from chapter 1 that Ahaziah, son of Ahab, fell out of a window and died of his injuries because he sought the word of Baal-zebul, and another son of Ahab took the throne, Jehoram of Israel. Verse 1. Now Jehoram, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel in Samaria in the 18th year of Jehoshaphat king of Judah, and reigned 12 years. Comment: Jehoshaphat's reign in Judah was a bright spot. He did right by Yahweh, and Yahweh blessed him, 2 Chronicles 17. However, Yahweh chastised him for helping Ahab, king of Israel. Yahweh said, quote, "Should you help the wicked and love those who hate Yahweh?" 2 Chronicles 19:2. At the time that Jehoram is taking the throne of Israel, Jehoshaphat's still on the throne of Judah. Speaking of the newly crowned Jehoram, verse 2, he did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight, but not like his father and like his mother, for he put away the pillar of Baal that his father had made. Comment: Jehoram's father and mother were Ahab and Jezebel. Jezebel still living, 2 Kings 9:22, so Jehoram's bucking his overbearing mother by taking down that pillar of Baal. So he gets a little credit, but verse 3, nevertheless he held to the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, with which he made Israel to sin. He didn't depart from them. Comment: Jehoram's going in the right direction by removing the pillar of Baal, but he didn't go far enough. He held to the sins of Jeroboam, meaning for the most part he did not forsake idolatry. We must be wholehearted in our devotion to Yahweh, not double-minded. James 1:7, let not a double-minded man, quote, think that he will receive anything from the Lord, end quote. There must be complete repentance and devotion. Verse 4. Now Mesha, the king of Moab, was a sheep breeder, and he supplied the king of Israel with the wool of 100,000 lambs and of 100,000 rams. But when Ahab was dead, the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. Comment: Moab is the foreign country on the other side of the Dead Sea. When King Ahab was alive, he kept Moab under his thumb. Moab paid him tribute by sending the wool of 200,000 animals probably every year. But now Ahab's son Jehoram is embarrassed because the tribute has stopped coming. He looks weak compared to his father. Therefore, verse 6, King Jehoram went out of Samaria at that time and mustered all Israel. He went and sent to Jehoshaphat the king of Judah, saying, the king of Moab has rebelled against me. Will you go out with me against Moab to battle? He said, I will go up. I am as you are, my people as your people, my horses as your horses. Comment: Yahweh is with Jehoshaphat in Judah because he's with Yahweh, 2 Chronicles 17:3. And once again, just like Jehoshaphat helped Ahab, he's agreeing to help the son Jehoram. He's completely giving himself, his people, and his horses to Jehoram to go to war. He's also agreeing to Jehoram's strategy as we go to verse 8. He said, which way shall we go up? He answered, the way of the wilderness of Edom. Comment: all Israel will march south to Judah, join forces with them, then together they'll march around the southern end of the Dead Sea to Moab. They could have taken a more direct route over the northern end of the Dead Sea, but they're choosing the longer route. Coming up, as they pass by the southern end of the Dead Sea, they'll pick up support from the nation there, which is Edom, verse 9. So the king of Israel went with the king of Judah and the king of Edom, and they marched for 7 days along a circuitous route. Comment: it wouldn't ordinarily take 7 days to go around the end of the Dead Sea, but for some reason the route was circuitous. They took some detours or walked in circles to take that long. And now coming up, they're running out of water. Still in verse 9. There was no water for the army or for the animals that followed them. Comment: that's the problem on the southern end of the Dead Sea to this day. The sea's salty, and if the creeks aren't flowing, there's no fresh water. So they're desperate for water after 7 days. Verse 10. The king of Israel said, alas, for Yahweh has called these 3 kings together to deliver them into the hand of Moab. Comment: Jehoram has emotionally thrown in the towel. It's an alas moment. He's sure the king of Moab is going to attack them in their thirsty and weakened condition, and they're all going to die. He thinks Yahweh has done it to them. Quote, for Yahweh has called these 3 kings together to deliver them into the hand of Moab, end quote. And it is true that Jehoram can't have any confidence in Yahweh like Jehoshaphat has. Let not a double-minded man expect anything from God, as James said. Verse 11. But Jehoshaphat said, Isn't there a prophet of Yahweh here, that we may inquire of Yahweh by him? One of the kings of Israel's servants answered, Elisha the son of Shaphat, who poured water on the hands of Elijah, is here. Jehoshaphat said, Yahweh's word is with him. Comment, Elisha poured water on the hands of Elijah, meaning he used to be Elijah's servant, down to the point of helping him wash his hands. Now we're left wondering why Jehoshaphat didn't consult Yahweh in the first place before he agreed to come. Certainly he should have. The law of Moses specified that his people should go to war only if they get the go-ahead from Yahweh, Numbers 27:21. Still in verse 12. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat the king of Edom went down to him. Comment, the three kings went to see Elisha. Apparently he was somewhere close by, maybe traveling with the armies. Verse 13. Elisha said to the king of Israel, What have I to do with you? Go to the prophets of your father and to the prophets of your mother. The king of Israel said to him, No, for Yahweh has called these three kings together to deliver them into the hand of Moab. Comment, Elisha told Jehoram, in effect, since Yahweh isn't your God, you don't have any business calling on me. Jehoram replied, You don't understand, Elijah. I'm in a lot of trouble. Obviously, Jehoram doesn't have a leg to stand on, waiting until he's in trouble to call on Yahweh. But he does have a point in that maybe Yahweh will be merciful and pull him out of this jam. Will Elisha agree to help? Verse 14. Elisha said, As Yahweh of armies lives, before whom I stand, surely were it not that I respect the presence of Jehoshaphat the king of Judah, I would not look toward you nor see you. Comment, Elisha wouldn't have given Jehoram the time of day if he hadn't been with Jehoshaphat, and Jehoshaphat shouldn't have been there himself, helping the wicked, as Yahweh has already chastised him for helping Ahab in the past, 2 Chronicles 19:2. So if there's going to be any help at all, it'll be because Yahweh's a softy for now, putting off his anger for some other time. Elijah responds, verse 15, But now bring me a musician. When the musician played, Yahweh's hand came on him. Comment, something about music stirred up Elisha's prophetic abilities. There's something about prophecy and music going together. For example, David assigned certain men, quote, who were to prophesy with harps, with stringed instruments, and with cymbals, 1 Chronicles 25:1. Coming up with the help of the music, Elisha is getting the word as we go to verse 16. He said, Yahweh says, Make this valley full of trenches. For Yahweh says, You will not see wind, neither will you see rain, yet that valley will be filled with water, and you will drink, both you and your livestock and your other animals. This is an easy thing in Yahweh's sight. He will also deliver the Moabites into your hand. You shall strike every fortified city and every choice city, and shall fell every good tree, and stop all springs of water, and mar every good piece of land with stones. Comment, Yahweh's going to fill the valley with water, but the land there is so perfectly flat like a tabletop, they're going to need trenches to store the water. Also, he'll give victory, and he's commanding them to destroy Moab. Verse 20. In the morning, about the time of offering the sacrifice, behold, water came by way of Edom, and the country was filled with water. Comment, next morning, water flowed in from the south and filled the valley. Verse 21. Now when all the Moabites heard that the kings had come up to fight against them, they gathered themselves together, all who were able to put on armor, young and old, and stood on the border. Comment, every able-bodied Moabite is turned out to defend the border. Verse 22. They rose up early in the morning, and the sun shone on the water, and the Moabites saw the water opposite them as red as blood. They said, This is blood. The kings are surely destroyed, and they have struck each other. Now therefore, Moab, to the plunder. Comment, Yahweh's putting the Moabites into confusion. This is what Yahweh promised to do in general to Israel's enemies on the battlefield, Exodus 23:27. I will, quote, confuse all the people to whom you come, and I will make all your enemies turn their backs to you. Verse 24. When they came to the camp of Israel, the Israelites rose up and struck the Moabites, so that they fled before them, and they went forward into the land, attacking the Moabites. They beat down the cities, and on every good piece of land each man cast his stone and filled it. Comment, as they were marching through, every soldier picked up a stone and put it on every good piece of land they passed, according to Yahweh's command through Elisha. Still in verse 25. They also stopped all the springs of water and felled all the good trees, until in Kir-Haresath all they left was its stones. However, the men armed with slings went around it and attacked it. Comment: the translation is difficult here, but it seems they attacked the city of Kir-Haresath, but had not yet breached the wall when the following happened. Verse 26. When the king of Moab saw that the battle was too severe for him, he took with him 700 men who drew a sword to break through to the king of Edom, but they could not. Comment: the king of Moab was holed up in the city within the walls, as it becomes a little more clear in a moment. When he saw the city was about to be overrun, he took 700 men, left the city, and tried to fight his way through to the king of Edom. The king of Edom was one of the three attacking kings, but it must have been that the king of Moab thought his chances of finding mercy with him were better than finding mercy with the other two. It didn't matter because he couldn't break through, so he went back in the city. And verse 27, then he took his oldest son, who would have reigned in his place, and offered him for a burnt offering on the wall. Comment: he offered his son probably to Chemosh, 1 Kings 11:33. Now coming up, for some reason, Yahweh withdrew his hand from the battlefield. Maybe it was because he thought the Moabites had suffered enough. Maybe this sacrificing of the king's son pulled on his heartstrings, even though the king sacrificed him to another god. At any rate, still in verse 27, there was great wrath against Israel, and they departed from him and returned to their own land. Comment: Yahweh's patience with Israel ran out just about the time the king of Moab sacrificed his son on the wall. Yahweh must be figuring that Israel is just as idolatrous as Moab. The Israelites departed. In the end, we don't know if this was victory or defeat. They made Moab pay a big price for rebellion, but Moab kept their king, and Jehoram left without breaking through to the king and reestablishing tribute. So Yahweh kept Israel and Judah from dying of thirst, but he held back on total victory. Jehoshaphat could have done better by consulting with Yahweh in the first place, and Jehoram could have done better by devoting himself and his nation to Yahweh. And there are times when you and I could have done much, much better because we ignored Yahweh and got ourselves into very regrettable circumstances where everybody came out a loser. 2 Kings 4 is next at landofhavilah.net. This is the map of 2 Kings 3, Samaria here, Judah here, Edom here, Moab here, Kir-Haresath estimated here.